talked with a buddy of mine and his brother that I used to work with at a Christian camp with, right? So they're both Christians, but the younger brother is still he was kind of agnostic for a bit. He was still working at the camp, but recently he's like really tried to become more Christian. And he just started recently dating this girl, right? So this is interesting. So the girl's sister, so this is my friend's younger brother's girlfriend's sister at this point, okay, is getting married. Actually, just got married, right? And they had a wedding. And so the girl's father, both the girl's father, disinvited my friend's brother from going to the wedding because he was still a new Christian and didn't want him to be there yet because he still hadn't like proved himself yet, basically, in his eyes. Now, my first thought is, why does he get to make the decision on who gets to come to this girl's wedding? Shouldn't it be, this woman that's making a decision on who's coming? Because both of the women, the two sisters, they wanted him to come, but dad was like, no. And then he was like, well, he was paying for the wedding and stuff. And that's when I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess if you're paying for a thing, maybe you have more privileges in deciding who comes and stuff. But the reasoning was just like, oh, you're too new of a Christian, so I don't trust you yet with my daughter. So you don't get to go to like this event. Like, I don't know. That's weird to me. I mean, obviously there's like, dads are really cautious around their daughters dating sometimes. It's a thing. But like, that's a specific excuse, I guess, that I've never heard before. Have you ever heard anything like that?
I've heard things like that, but they make no sense to me. Because it's like you can't do A because you haven't believed in a God for long enough. Like it doesn't, like just on TikTok the other day, I saw a guy, he was telling people that just got saved that you cannot teach or preach the Bible because you've only been saved for X amount of time. And it's like, where do these standards come from? Like, why do people, where does this even come from?
Isn't the Holy Spirit supposed to fill your heart and that you kind of can work for that? But no, but then Paul talks about how you need like there's like spiritual milk, right? I don't know. Here's the thing. Obviously the guy doesn't like him, right? Like the dad does not like my friend's brother.
Yeah.
Otherwise there wouldn't be a problem, right? Like obviously there's some issues there. And that's fine or whatever. But like to judge a man's religious path and to say, yeah, you're not good enough for me. First of all, that's none of his business to even know or care about that, in my opinion. But also, like, really, that's the reason why you're not gonna, I don't know. That's just an excuse. I think you just don't like him. I don't think you think he's gonna stick around long enough to be in the family. But like, it was such a weird justification. I thought it was so strange.
And instead of just saying, I don't like you, I don't want you there.
Yeah.
And to handle it like an adult or like a man, it's, well, because, essentially God said, because you have been Christian long enough, you can't attend. Like, don't use God or your faith as a shield to hide behind. Just say you don't like the guy.
Yeah. And I did ask him, I was like, did he tell you this to his face? And he's like, yes. Like they actually had this conversation. Cause I thought when I heard that, like, oh, he must have told his daughter first and then the daughter told him. But no, he just straight up told him he did not want him at this wedding because, and like, he's a young guy. He's like 22, so, and I think the daughter's around the same age, but I don't know. That's just left a sour taste in my mouth because it's just like, man, not only is the guy a Christian, but like, he's been doing this new thing. Like he's trying something that's working for him and he's still being rejected by other Christians because he's not like good enough.
He's not Christian. He's not Christian enough yet.
He's not Christian enough. Like that's literally what it is. And it's just like, well, I didn't think, I've heard kooky stuff like that growing up, especially if you grow up around Baptist churches, you hear that all the time because they're always like, oh, the Methodists aren't doing it enough. And the Pentecostals, they got some wacky stuff, but like, I've never heard this was such a specific instance. I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah. In that regard, anyway, Baptist churches are similar to the high-strung evangelical, movement that I was a part of, where it's like there's like levels of Christianity, where it's like you got to move up the up the ladder before you achieve this ultimate level,
right,
of acceptance
it's
or
basically
holiness.
spiritual guru, kind of in a Christian sense, I guess. There is kind of that culture there amongst depending, I mean, it depends on where you go, right? Different denominations work differently, but I've seen that as well. Kind of different tiers of spirituality, I guess, which I think Jesus was pretty much against for the most part, from my understanding of the Gospels. But I don't know. You can take that a million different ways.